There's not so many questions about what actually happened here. There's a lot more questions about the reaction and the narratives that have been pushed since this story was reported. Whether it be the narrative that the father is being weak, whether it's the narrative that the mother, of course, is the only sane, rational one in the crowd, which of course we'll talk about as well in this video, or the whole notion that it was actually self-defense when it's pretty obvious that it still would not justify, if it was a fist fight, just entertaining the usage of a knife. Well, of course, when you actually look into the situation, it's exactly what the hell you might would think it is. And of course, to go on top of that there, we've also got to bring back the age-old argument about certain statistics. Now, guys, I want to go ahead and say this before we fully dig into this video, that this right here is going to be sort of a two-parter, and here's how it's going to go. This video right here is going to talk more about the initial reaction. It's going to talk more about what actually happened in this case. The second video is going to be released a little bit later on in the day, and of course you guys will see over the course of this next little montage that I have exactly where we're going with that, but of course all the narratives that have happened since then and what may happen in the future regarding said situation. But let's go ahead and roll this.
Very unfortunate that this other child decided to make a bad choice that's going to affect him for the rest of his life. I have compassion for every human being. This is not, I want to make this very clear. This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on a soapbox trying to politicize this. I don't appreciate some of the remarks I've seen online that people say there was this fight and they don't know, they weren't there.
Will anybody in the sports media world talk about this? Will any of the Cowboys treat Austin Metcalf the way the Cowboys treated George Floyd, taking a knee all over the place? What's more of a tragedy? George Floyd overdosing on fentanyl under the knee of Derek Chauvin, or this 17-year-old boy, honor roll student, devout Christian, stabbed in the heart at a track meet?
For this video on YouTube, and I hope that you'll share it before it gets it, because these are the facts, okay? In 2023, black men represented 5.7% of the total U.S. population. This is not something I'm making up. Okay, this is according to Google. All right. While the total black population is 14.4%, black men constitute 5.7% of the total U.S. population.
There's a lot of conversation right now about the father. All right, and I'm going to link this video from Steven Crowder in the description box because I think Steven Crowder did a very good job of breaking down the father's reaction to the loss of his son. But let me go ahead and say this right now. When your son's life is lost and then your other son, who happens to be a twin brother, the twin brother of the victim in this case, Austin Metcalf, he is actually holding his brother in his arms, watching him die. It's almost like you're watching yourself die because you are, in fact, a twin. Now, granted, they don't look exactly identical, even though they are identical twins. A lot of that's because, well, one child's smaller, one child's a little bit bigger. The normal type of stuff that comes with twins. Not trying to, make an additional point or anything. I'm just saying that it's pretty daggone crappy to lose your son, to lose your child. Now, guys, like I said at the very beginning in the opening of this video, the stuff involving narratives, the racial narratives, whether it was self-defense, whether it is there people out there who are defending the actions of the perpetrator, in this case, one Carmelo Anthony, not to be confused with the basketball player Carmelo Anthony. That right there will be more so in video number 2. I want to talk about the actual incident and what I actually think happened in this case, because I think when you actually look into it, it's a little bit more, let's just say, simpler than you think. And I am going to take a second to talk about the father and the mother in this case. But this story, it got reported a little over, I would say about 4 or 5 days ago. It was a hot topic throughout the weekend. I know I'm a little bit late on this, but still, though, at the same time, I do believe that it is relevant in the overall conversation because a lot of people are out here saying that this entire thing is racial when, in fact, the father, in this case, as you guys will see here in a second, is going out of his way to downplay that. Let me play the first half of this initial report.
Metcalf somehow found the strength to speak with us late this afternoon about his son, 16-year-old Austin Metcalf, sharing memories of this remarkable young man and a heart-wrenching detail about what happened behind me this morning.
The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins. And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. and he died in his brother's arms. And I rushed up there, and I saw him on the gurney, and I could tell.
And as you guys obviously saw in the very beginning, the father is going out of his way to basically say, look, I kind of feel bad for the perpetrator and the environment he was raised in. Look, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I'm going to go ahead and say this now, and then I'm going to bring it up again towards the end of the video. If I was stabbed in the heart, died, my father would want justice. My mother would want justice. My stepfather would want justice. My sister would want justice. Even if I was in the wrong, which of course, as you guys will see here, it doesn't look like Metcalf was in the wrong. It looked like this was a simple disagreement, simply asking somebody to move, and then next thing you know, it turned into a fight. We'll get to that in a second. I understand being forgiving. I am a Christian myself. I am God-fearing. And of course, the people that I just mentioned were also very, very much God-fearing themselves, still are to this day. Of course, my father is not with us anymore. God rest his soul. Speaking of that, his actual birthday is coming up here in the next week. But still, though, the point is this here. They would still want justice. They would still have the same feeling that the mother had. Let me just play some of this. Roughly about a minute and 40 seconds. I had to kind of edit it. It's also the twin brother as well. But let me play it because the mother, she responds after her son does. But here you go.
I saw him about to fall. I went to go over there. I grabbed him. I see. Let's go.
Yeah, I understand. Best I can to understand.
Yeah, there was. You can see. You can picture what happened when what was coming out of his chest, and
yeah.
Y'all can visualize that stuff. I don't want to put down my mom right now, but I pushed my hand on there, trying to make it stop, and I grabbed his head and I looked in his eyes. I just saw his soul leave, and it took my soul too.
I'm so sorry. One last question. I've seen interviews with your husband, who I can hear in the side, by the way. I think he's there in the room with you. I saw an interview last night. Okay, someone else. Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
But I have seen interviews with your husband in the last 24 hours, and it was remarkable to me that I heard your husband say, within hours of this, that he forgave this other young man, and he got there so quickly. And I honestly don't know that I could, and I just want to see, and I don't know if there's a right or a wrong place to be, especially as quickly as this has happened. Megan, how do you feel on that front today?
I am not like their dad. I am so angry at that boy.
Now, you guys obviously heard that, all right? You guys obviously heard how the mother feels. You obviously hear about how the brother feels. I played the first half of a news report that was an initial news report from this situation. Well, let me go ahead and play the rest of it.
I see all the blood. I saw where the wound was.
Understandably still in shock, Jeff Metcalf says a precious memory was made just this past weekend when he took his twin boys hunting. That's where Austin got his first hog. Well, this morning at around 10, he rushed here to Kirkendall Stadium, where the Memorial High School student athlete suffered a fatal stab wound during this track and field meet. Frisco police say a fight broke out between two students when one stabbed the other. More than 100 student athletes were participating in this meet. Fortunately, they were safely evacuated. Police arrested the suspect. He is 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony of Frisco. He is now charged with murder. Some students, unfortunately, witnessed this deadly encounter and have been interviewed by police. Despite life-saving efforts, the 16-year-old victim died at the hospital. Austin, his father shares, was born 2 minutes before his twin brother Hunter, the two inseparable, as you can imagine. Austin is being remembered as an outstanding student at Memorial High, his football team's MVP, and a young man of faith. His father grappling with loss and forgiveness.
You know, guys, there's also the videos, and of course, there's gonna be a lot of videos linked in the description box from this story, okay? Because a lot of cakes have been out there, a lot of things have came out. One of the people who's been the most on this, of course, that I reference him in videos from time to time, is Sean Fitzgerald, Actual Justice, where he primarily does these types of videos on crime and certain situations. Jeremy the Quartering had a very good video on this right here where he discussed the actual statistics. Of course, Jeremy the Quartering is not really, he's really more pop culture, but of course he was really reacting to some stuff that Matt Walsh had said, who had a bit of a banger on this topic. And of course, they had people out there like Hassan Piker and everybody attacking him and saying he was KKK and crap like that. But the point that I want to reference, because it's the normal racial crap these people do, because you obviously got people out there who simp for the actual killer, the person in the wrong here. But the point is this right here. In the Sean Fitzgerald video, I think the first video, there was an interview with one of the girls who knew Carmelo Anthony. And she essentially said, no, wait, that video will be linked in the description box. She basically said that she was shocked that he would go this far and actually kill anybody. But yet, in said bit, she also said he was known for getting into fistfights. That right there will come up here in a second, because whether that girl knew it or not, she may have actually exposed the kid's behavior. But let me get back on track. And the mother has every right in the world to be angry about this situation. She lost her son. By the way, the details that have been coming out more and more about this situation seem to indicate that what happened in this case was that Anthony was sitting under a tent where another team at the track meet, the other team, well, he was actually sitting in the wrong tent, basically. And Metcalf, Austin, his brother, and some more guys came over and simply asked him to move. Next thing you know, it turns into an altercation where Mr. Anthony then turns right back around and says, touch me and see what happens. As this news report here from CBS Texas would indicate.
Documents detail what may have happened in the moments leading up to the stabbing death of a Frisco ISD student, Austin Metcalf. It comes as the community continues to really process what all happened. Tonight, our Aaron Jones speaking to a crisis counselor who is now sharing some advice.
The Frisco Centennial High School student charged with stabbing Frisco Memorial student Austin Metcalf has been transferred to the Collin County Jail. Arrest documents state 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony was sitting under Frisco Memorial's pop-up tent at a track meet Wednesday morning. Metcalf told Anthony he needed to move. Then Anthony grabbed his bag, reached inside, and said, quote, touch me and see what happens. The documents say a short time later, Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Later telling an officer at the scene, I'm not alleged, I did it. He put his hands on me, I told him not to. Anthony's bond was set at $1 million. Legal expert Philip Linder weighing in.
If there is no evidence of the young man who died having a deadly weapon or threatening to do serious harm to this kid, then he has no business using a knife. And so there will be no self-defense claim that he could really urge.
Metcalf's father tells us his son's twin, Hunter, witnessed what happened that day and tried to save his brother's life.
I need my son back, but that's not possible. All I can ask for is just pray.
Arrest documents show more than 30 students and coaches are also listed as witnesses to the violent death.
There's a likelihood that there will be post-traumatic stress.
Veronica Seitz, a trained mental health crisis counselor, says anyone in need should be getting counseling to cope with their feelings.
So that they know and see and experience that they are not in this alone. Give them space to talk if they are open to visit. But also pay attention to things if they've lost their appetite, if they're having disruptions to sleeping.
Frisco ISD has counselors on hand for any students that need to talk. Today, I spoke with Anthony's legal team. They tell us they will not be commenting on this case.
So it seems to me like what this was the boy was asked to move, and he did not like the fact that he was asked to move. And it seems to me like, based upon this report, he was looking for trouble. By the way, he told the cops that he was the one who did it, and then he said that he did it in self-defense. This right here is what I mean when I say that this right here is a generation that the biggest problem that we have is a complete total lack of accountability. This is what happens when you don't spank your kids. This is what happens when you don't discipline your kids. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more in video number 2, because obviously I'm going to be going through some of the other things that have came out as far as the reactions are concerned. So what ultimately happened in this case? Well, what happened in this case is, like I said before, what you guys saw. He was asked to move. An altercation happened. He said, touch me again. He reached inside his bag. He pulled out a knife, and he stabbed Mr. Metcalf right in the chest, killing him. That's what happened in this case, plain, pure, and simple. Now, I can already hear somebody saying, well, Mr. Metcalf started to do a little bit of pushing of his own. Dude, they walked over there. They asked him to leave. The book bag was picked up. Hey, man, can you please move? We got to sit over here. This type of stuff happens all the time, and Mr. Anthony's response was not to respond with a fist or words, but to respond with a knife. This is something that I've had several, and I want to use another example before I go into the father. And I want to say this because this is something that we oftentimes lose sight of in this discussion, and that is necessity. Like, what is actually necessary? Did this right here go too far? And of course, the example that I'm going to use is an example that I'm going to talk a little bit about in tomorrow's video, which of course is that whole Israel-Gaza conflict. Bear with me for a very, very quick second. On October the 7th, we all know what happened, okay? I'm not going to go too far into this because next thing you know, see, this guy's I ain't got time to hear this whole you're a shield crap, whatnot. This is a right, wrong perspective. That really is how the situation should be viewed, exactly like this situation that we're talking about now with the death of Austin Metcalf should also be viewed through the right, wrong lens, not racial, but once again, though, here we are. One of the things that the Free Palestine crowd kept on bringing up in that situation was the fact that Israel lapsed on intel, and they kind of begged for this situation. Okay. Even if that nation got it wrong when it came to their intel, even if that nation was setting up a potential situation where people could die, whether they did it knowingly or not knowingly, it still does not give the other party the right to come in and kill over 1,000 people and take a bunch of hot people hostage. By the way, many of them are actually Americans. Americans that for some odd reason, other Americans that claim to be pro-America, America first, for whatever reason are 100% willing to let die in a camp being ran by Hamas because they have an issue with the other nation in the Middle East, the nation that was actually attacked. The point is this right here. You have a right to defend yourself, okay? That right there is what you can do. You have a right to defend yourself. However, common sense, morality should tell you not to kill over 1,000 people. Morality should tell you that no weapon has been pulled on me, so I don't need to pull another weapon. In this case, a knife. And yes, I'm biased a little bit against knives because I myself have been stabbed. In the hand, when I was younger, yeah. Had to go to the hospital, stitches, all that type of stuff there. It sucks. It really sucks because oftentimes when people get stabbed, the wound never closes. It's part of the reason why it is one of the most effective ways to kill somebody is to stab them. Especially if you stab them in the heart. I mean, hell, you just stab them in the stomach. They'll be dead within a few days. Yeah, you just nick something. It just slowly bleeds out. This was unnecessary is what I'm saying. If you want to defend yourself, fine. If you have a problem with somebody telling you to move or running your mouth, okay, fine. You want to go to fisticuffs, cool. But you pulled out a knife and you stabbed this kid in the heart. Just think about that really quick. Unnecessary. Overboard. Which brings me to the last part, which of course is the father and what should happen to Mr. Anthony. Let me start with the father. Look, I understand 100% why it is that this guy does not want this situation to get any more airtime than it already has. I understand why he does not want this to get political. I understand why it is that he does not want this to get racial. And I also understand 100% why it is that he wants to forgive the boy and the family, because the truth be told is this right here. Forgiveness, if you can't forgive, the only thing that you end up doing is making your own life a lot worse. I've seen that, heard that, been through it myself, that bitterness is not exactly something fun to have. But of course, at the same time, every reaction that comes from the mother, every reaction that's come from the brother is 100% understandable. By the way, I'm pretty sure that this guy behind closed doors is more than likely angry as hell. And of course, you also found that he was a cancer survivor as well. So obviously some thinking is going on right now. It's coming from a different place, which, by the way, I'm not attacking at all. Obviously, his experiences have shaped him a certain way, and he has a certain outlook on life. And of course, there was also the bit about him, I think, I don't know if I had it in this clip or not, but where he stated that he had a dream about his son. His son told him that he was okay. Now, some people are probably going to think that he's coping. I tend to think that, I'm a spiritual person myself. I believe in God. I'm a Christian. And I've had dreams before, so I typically tend to believe him on initial viewing. You want to call me crazy, whatnot, go right ahead. I don't care. I understand why it is that he's going through this, and I understand why it is he does not want to make the situation racial. I can promise you right now, 100% certainty that, yeah, it's understandable. But also, like I said before, the mother's reaction is also understandable. The anger, the fact that she wants this child to pay. She wants justice for her child. And quite frankly, that is 100% understandable, and quite frankly, what most people, and myself included, would want in this case. Which ultimately brings me to Mr. Anthony. Jeremy at the quartering, I mentioned this video earlier. He did a very good job reacting, looking at some of the statistics from the Department of Justice about racial crimes, crimes committed by certain races, the statistics, all that type of stuff there. And of course, the conversation is coming back up between race and culture. And we've got some people who are very, very smart talking about this. And we've also got the worst kinds of idiots out there running their mouth as well. Some of these idiots, by the way, you would think would be closer aligned to my side of the aisle politically, but of course, when you actually look at these people, you find out that some of them don't even live in the United States. But still at the same time, Matt Walsh pointing out the fact that these crimes are committed much, much more frequently by what is only about 5% of the actual country itself is, quite frankly, pretty daggone relevant and needs to be discussed. And who the hell do I blame for this? I blame mostly the media, and I also blame the culture itself. That right there is the truth about this situation. However, there are some people out there who are right now saying that this guy right here needs to be tried as an adult and he needs to see the death penalty. I am somebody else who thinks to myself, you know what? We need to actually take a serious look at this situation. Yes, this boy does need to go to prison. Yes, this boy does in fact need to be tried as an adult. But I think we need to look at exactly what we're doing here. We need to look at the actual rationale and the logic behind the capital punishment. Me personally, I think that this kid's life is over already. Because the minute he goes in there, guess what? If you let him out 10 to 15 years from now, what happens? He probably comes out as a much, much more hardened criminal because he's been around what? Other criminals. If he goes away for 15 years or whatnot, he may come out and guess what he might be? He may turn into a damn minister. He may turn into a pastor, but guess what? He could always reoffend. So I think that every single option at this moment in time should in fact be on the table. As far as what should actually happen, let me just put it this way here. When I mentioned capital punishment, I mentioned a tweet from Lionel Nation, who, by the way, tweeted about this and said, try him out as an adult, and of course, go through with it. I'm not saying that I agree with you, Lionel. I'm not saying I don't agree with you, Lionel, but I understand 100% why you might would feel that way. I also understand 100% why it is that the mother feels this way in this case. I understand also why the father wants to keep this matter under wraps. I understand why he's in the situation he's in and why he feels the way he does. I think there are a lot more details to come out over the course of this case. However, what does not help are people out there, let's just say, simping for the person who actually committed the crime. This right here, plain and simple, was a situation between two boys that quite frankly should not have happened. And of course it got worse because one boy, for some odd reason, who probably felt that he would get away with it, all you had to do was just listen to him say self-defense. It was done in self-defense, thinking that he would be able to get away with it, even though obviously this was not a situation where the rules of self-defense, the use of force would apply. And here we are. Young man lost his life, 18 years old. Good, God-fearing Christian kid, straight-A student, probably would have actually contributed to this nation's success in a way. Well, the other person just wasn't going to. So like I said before, all this talk about trying him as an adult, yeah, it's understandable. But of course, there are still going to be people out there who are going to simp for the nonsense and simp for the villain in this case, and they're obviously going to martyr him. Still, though, I would love to hear what you guys have got to say in the comment section. Now, guys, the second video of the day will be about the attempted martyring of this kid. So make sure you guys stick around for that there. This video right here will probably be out about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. Video number 3 will probably be out about 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. We're going to be going back to posting to where the algorithm tells me to post, at least for the next couple of weeks, because I had been doing set videos as far as time was concerned. But that second video will be out a little bit later on this evening. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say, and I'll see you guys later.